at the University of Dallas today. Go to udallas.edu to learn more.
Join Nolan Catholic High School for their annual gala on Saturday, February the 26th at 6:30 p.m., located at Live by Lowe's. For over 41 years, this event has brought current parents, alumni, parents of alumni, grandparents, faculty, staff, and friends together for an evening of fellowship and fun while raising much-needed funds that benefit the school and its students. The theme this year is Masquerade with a Mardi Gras twist. Dress as cocktail attire and masquerade masks are optional. To purchase tickets, visit nolancatholic.org.
Is your facility in need of additional meeting or classroom space, but there's no room in the budget to add on to the building? I'm Glenn Trahan, owner of Modern Fold Door and Specialties and proud sponsor of KATH 910 AM. Modern Fold Door and Specialties can solve your space division problems by installing operable walls to create additional spaces. We also provide repair and service. You can contact us at 214-357-2572 for a free consultation or trwfamily.com. God bless.
You're invited to an evening with Sister Norma Pimentel, Thursday, March 10th, 7 p.m. at Jesuit Dallas. Sister Norma, one of Time Magazine's most influential people of 2020, is a tireless advocate for refugees and currently serves as Executive Director of Catholic Charities of the Rio Grande Valley. Tickets are $25 and all proceeds benefit St. Mary of Carmel Catholic School in West Dallas. For more information, visit smcschool.org. That's smcschool.org.
The Guadalupe Radio Network is happy to welcome Pantego Dental and Orthodontic Center as a new sponsor here on KATH 910 AM. Dr. Wynn, a member of St. Vincent de Paul Parish in Arlington, and his staff offer a variety of services such as general and cosmetic dentistry, dental implants, braces, Invisalign, and laser pain relief for TMJ, TMD, and jaw pain. They can be reached at 817-274-1825. That's 817-274-1825. It's Pantego Dental and Orthodontic Center.
In these difficult times, pregnant mothers and their families are vulnerable and in urgent need of support. Project Gabriel stands in the gap, offering emotional, spiritual, and practical support to mothers in crisis. You can become a part of this beautiful ministry at Gabriel Angel Training on April 9th. For more information and to register, visit prolifedallas.org or call 972-267-5433.
Are you a Catholic man looking to make a difference in your Catholic faith or seeking a brotherhood that upholds Catholic teaching and values? Join the Knights of Columbus today. You can join online at knights.net. That's KNIGHTS.net. By joining online, you'll have immediate access.
Welcome to Back to the Father, a show about the journey of life focused on our final end, which is God Himself, our loving Father. And now, here's your host, Dave Palmer.
And hi, everybody, and welcome to the triumphant return of Back to the Father here on the Guadalupe Radio Network and all of our social media sites. My name is Dave Palmer. Good to be back with you. We have had, I think it's been 3 weeks since we've had a program. Is that right, Sissel? 3 weeks? Seems like it's been longer than that.
It seems like it's been forever.
Yeah.
It was an unexpected long break that we didn't.
Yeah. Well, last Friday we had horrible weather, and we maybe could have done it, but the roads were really treacherous in North Texas, and I just didn't think it was worth all of us, risking life and limb to get up here. And so I made the executive decision. We're just not going to do the show.
As the executive director.
As the executive director. That's what executive directors do. They make executive decisions. And then the show got canceled. And the next week it's going to be Hegel, Marx, Aquinas.
Oh my gosh.
And so every week it got canceled. But here we are. We're going to do it. We're also going to tie in the Super Bowl. Okay, the Super Bowl and what it all means. And that's why I want to bring in Diane Xavier, because she is among all the staff here at the GRN, at least in the North Texas office. She's the biggest sports fan.
Yes.
And Diane, do you know what the connection is between Karl Marx, Hegel, Aquinas, and the Super Bowl is? Okay, kind of a loaded question.
No,
there, but, all
I don't
right.
know it from the philosophy perspective.
Well, okay, so let me just give you a little bit of and you guys out there watching, please jump in, make comments. Thanks for already commenting. We love to play off what you had to say, and I'm already jumping into it. I haven't really even introduced everybody. Diane is our producer. She's our production manager of the North Texas office, and she loves sports and that kind of stuff. Sissel loves hats, and she's our North Texas assistant. How you doing, Sissel?
I'm doing all right. Got my hat on that I genuinely can't remember where I got it from. I think it was a hand-me-down. I have a lot of those, but it's kind of, I feel like a very 1920s, kind of flapper
look,
style. With a little cute rose on the side.
Very nice, yeah.
It's very nice. It's a very subtle hat. Dave, real quick, I'm going to ask you to not say anything for a split second because I got to add audio to one of our shots.
Okay, so I don't talk, or I don't ask you any questions.
We're good
okay,
now. It's all fixed.
And you actually emailed me about a week ago, and you said you had a conversation with somebody, and they were asking a question about Aquinas. And it had to do with finding God in the created world, right? And you said, where in the Summa does he talk about that? So you're actually getting into little Thomistic conversations with people? Are you?
Yeah. So this lady that I've known for a really long time and I've done a lot of work with she works for part-time for a tree company. And she writes blog posts for them and things like that. And we were catching up. We had dinner. And she was asking about various shows that I did. And I was talking about St. Thomas Aquinas. And I started talking about him, teaching about how we find nature reveals God to us, more about God. And she's like, oh, that's really interesting. And then I kind of just mentioned a few things. And then a few days later, she texts me. She goes, can you send me that writing? Because I want to use that in my blog post about bringing, nature and God, like to kind of like creation, like the whole picture of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's cool. So I was like, I have no idea where that is in the Summa, Dave.
So I sent you a couple of articles.
Yes, I sent
and you sent them to her.
Yes.
I'd love to see if she actually follows through with that
and if
puts
she
them
ever
in her blog.
Yeah, I'd love to see. And if she does, I'll ask her to send it to us because, really cool.
Yeah.
Pray for her. I'm working on it.
I have this theory. I was talking to my high school students yesterday about this, that there's a lot of comments in the Summa about awe and wonder, and I think we're living in an age right now where there's a lot of depression, there's a lot of anxiety. Joe on Catholic Drive Time this morning was talking to somebody about Catholic mental health and anxiety and depression, and my theory is that somebody's kind of emotional and mental well-being is going to be in proportion to the degree that they're able to discover God in the created world, you know? And I know there's illness, and some people, it's not a level playing field and all that, but I think to the degree that we can wake up and see a sunrise or a bird or a cloud and just be filled with excitement and tying that into God somehow, some way, I think that's the formula for a large degree of happiness in our life.
Yeah.
And so I think she was onto something. I think that's why she was so excited about that.
Yeah.
All right, so as we talk about Hegel and Marx and the Super Bowl and St. Thomas Aquinas today, I thought about this and how we tie this into the Super Bowl, okay? Because I asked Diane a moment ago. All right, so Diane, in preseason, all the football teams, how many teams do you have in the league now? About
32.
32 teams in the league. See, I told you, she's a fan. she knows this stuff. She didn't even have to pause. She knew 32 teams. They all have a goal as they start that first game of the season. And what's the goal of every football team in the NFL?
To win the Super Bowl.
Right. So this is the goal. This is the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what the league does very brilliantly is every week they pit two teams against each other. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got, the Dolphins playing the Patriots, and you got the Cowboys playing the Redskins, or not, well, they're not called the Redskins any longer.
They're called the Commanders now.
The Commanders, okay? And so they've pitted two teams against each other. And then the next week, you've got all these teams pitted against each other, and people absolutely love it. And then there's this culminating game where you're down to the last two teams in the league, and, you're either going for the Bengals or the Rams, and, everybody sits around their TV and they throw parties. Why? Because the NFL has set up a conflict, right? They've established, and that's Marxism. I'm not calling the NFL Marxist, okay? No, don't get me wrong. I'm saying that this is why Marxism is appealing to people. This is why Marx took it from Hegel. It's the whole idea of conflict, and it's resolution coming out of conflict, and it's not good in the political and the the Marxist sense, but you can see why people like that. I mean, we live, even before we started, I told you and Cicely, I said, in the trivia today of Back to the Father, I'm going to pit you two against each other. Remember, I said
yeah,
that.
You
okay,
did.
that's very kind of Hegelian in a sense, I was sharing with Cicely just a moment ago, I saw something on Twitter where some guy, and I don't know if he's good, bad, or otherwise, he was kind of claiming that Pope Benedict XVI was Hegelian. And I was asking Cicely, I said, how many people even know what that means?
I've never heard of it.
What does the guy mean by accusing, and I think he was being critical of Benedict XVI. Anybody out there know why would they accuse Benedict XVI of being Hegelian? And what does that even mean to the average person who doesn't even know what Hegel stood for, right?
Yeah, you might not even know he's a philosopher. You might not even know who is Hegel. Yeah. It's interesting.
Look at that, Jonathan von
I know,
Habsburg.
he's in the
He's
house.
on, man.
He made it, sort of.
I should have mentioned Jonathan.
us.
Man, Jonathan is such an important part of this show. Sam, we lost Sam because Sam had to, he had to focus on some
He's still
other
alive
things.
and well. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we didn't lose him. Yeah, we didn't lose him in that way. But Jonathan, had some issues that did not. It precluded him from coming to the studio today. So he did say he was going to be watching. So glad to have you with us, Jonathan. If you want to call in. 877-757-9424, 877-757-9424. So again, the Super Bowl, the only reason we're excited about it, if you are excited about it, I actually have a little graphic here where some guys are pretending to watch a football game. Isn't that the cheesiest posed picture?
I swear they all look like they're superimposed in there, too.
Yeah.
It's
See,
so bad.
I subscribe to this graphics thing called Canva, and I put in NFL fans, and this is what came out. But that is so staged.
It
Look at
looks
that.
so
Like all the
bad.
potato chips are still in the bowl, and all the pretzels.
That's
and,
way too clean for a Super Bowl party.
I know, and like none of the beers have labels, so it's all very generic. And so, anyways, that's
very
fun.
safe, yeah.
All right, so before we get into Marx and before we get into Hegel, I want to give Aquinas came before both of these guys, right? Aquinas is in the 13th century. Hegel and Marx, 19th century. Hegel came before Marx, right? So what if it's not based, if the world is not based on conflict and basically you have a thesis, an antithesis, and then you have a synthesis, right? So Hegel's going to kind of say that history moves towards some kind of resolution based on conflict. All right, so what would be Aquinas' answer to this? Because Hegel's saying you're kind of leading to this pure spirit or some kind of, it's like history is moving towards something, and it's pure spirit or it's pure freedom, and all the different conflicts you have, like the French Revolution or World War I or, the Civil War or what have you, it's all kind of leading to something, right? But it's based on conflict, and then of course Marx is going to take that, and he's going to have materialistic dialectic, and then you're going to have communism and Marxism that results from all that. All right, so here's a slide that Aquinas attributes all this to Providence. All right, where God is guiding all things to an end. Right? And so this is an actual paragraph out of the Summa, and he says, it's necessary to attribute providence to God, for all the good that is in created things has been created by God, as was shown above. In created things, good is found not only as regards their substance, but also as regards their order towards an end, and especially their last end, which is the divine goodness. Now, this is the biggest difference between Aquinas and Hegel and Marx, is that Aquinas says everything that we're doing, everything that we're moving towards, kind of like the Super Bowl being the ultimate, everything that we're moving towards is God himself. Okay, so every thought, every action, every impulse, every desire, every act of the will is ultimately is pulling us towards God. Okay, so that's kind of this is what Aquinas says. The good of order existing in things created is itself created by God. Since, however, God is the cause of things by his intellect, and thus it behooves that the type of every effect should preexist in him, it is necessary that the type of the order of things towards their end should preexist in the divine mind, and the type of things ordered towards an end is, properly speaking, providence. All right? So, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Kinda. Diane's still like, I want to talk about the Super Bowl some more. Come on.
Talk about the Super Bowl the entire
I know.
episode.
Super Bowl's a little easier to understand.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, and that's why I think, you have more people gathered around watching the Super Bowl than watching, Back to the Father. I don't know. We may be close, but probably not as many. Any comments? I know Jonathan was really excited about this topic. I don't know if he's commenting yet, but
he hasn't commented any. Had a Uriah on Facebook first had said when we were talking about about mental health and things like that, he said the confessions to a priest are similar to the effect you have talking to clinical psychologists. And then also when we were talking about Pope Benedict XVI, he was saying that they forced him to retire because of the banks around the church, and the controlling interest basically brought out the Jesuits to push reform and New Age futurist arguments. So that's his theory.
That doesn't have to do with Hegel, though, right?
Well, that was when you were talking about we brought up earlier. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there was a lot of controversy about that. That might be a whole different topic. And it doesn't directly relate. But thanks for the comment. Appreciate you guys commenting and watching. So, all right. So the whole basis here is that we are going to look at Marxism, and Karl Marx. I've got a picture of him. He was an interesting-looking fellow.
Oh, no.
So, okay, here's Karl Marx, born in 1818, died in 1883. And interestingly, my favorite papal encyclical is called Aeterni Patris, Pope Leo XIII, 1879, that was written. And this, I've talked about this many times. Aeterni Patris was Eternal Father, a restoration of Christian philosophy according to the mind of St. Thomas Aquinas. I don't think it's a coincidence that Pope Leo XIII wrote this, 4 years before Karl Marx died. Okay, he had Karl Marx in mind. He had a lot of errant philosophers in mind when he wrote this, and he's saying, hey, we need to get back to Aquinas. We need to go back, hundreds of years to the scholastic model, because these modern philosophers are just destroying things, right? And then and he didn't even know about the Bolshevik Revolution that hadn't happened yet, and what was going to happen with communism in the 20th century, and China, and the millions of lives that would be killed because of it. All right, so Karl Marx and Frederick Engels wrote the Communist Manifesto in 1848. Their main argument is that creating one class of people would end the problem of continuous class struggles and cycles of revolution between the bourgeois and the proletariat classes, which never leads to true reform. So he says you're going to have this constant struggle between the rich and the poor. Okay, so there's the conflict, and you're going to have you're never going to have peace between the two classes. So what you got to do is have to have a synthesis, which is a classless society. So everybody's the same. There are no rich, there are no poor. Everybody's the same. Well, we know through history it doesn't turn out too well that way, right? So where did he get this idea? And then before we get to that, because you're probably guessing, oh, maybe Hegel?
I might have an idea. Oh my gosh. Wait, is this a trivia question? Can I answer?
Trivia's coming up, okay? Sissel lives for trivia. And trivia's a lot of fun.
I only live for it when I win.
Did you prepare for it?
I do have something prepared now, yeah.
Because I know we can't rely on our boy wonder, Jonathan von Weber-Hansberg. Unless he wants to call in.
No, he does say that he has chimed in to say that Marx had a nice beard.
A nice beard, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Marx is kind of an interesting guy. Yeah. So I used to. Marx lived a lot of his life in England. Okay, he was German, but he lived in England. So all right. So in today's culture, okay, Marx in 1848, the Communist Manifesto came out. Conflict, okay, pitting the rich against the poor, and hopefully having some kind of classless society that comes out of it. Think about today. And if you read the news, you're going to see constant themes of conflict, okay, where, Antifa, by its very name, is anti-fascism, okay? So pitting groups against each other. You have a lot of people trying to peddle there's a black versus white, systemic racism, women versus men, rich versus poor, gay versus straight, the vaxxed versus the unvaxxed, the parents versus their children, bosses versus employees. I mean, would you agree that
that's a real personal one, Dave?
That's playing out right here.
Right
I mean,
here.
When we do trivia.
Exactly.
And it gets very, very heated, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Okay, so are there any other examples? Is it just constant conflict? And again, I think it's kind of built into us, but with stuff like sports, we want to see that conflict because it's kind of fun to pit one team against another.
Well, I mean, if you have a movie where there's no conflict, it's kind of the most boring movie in the world.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it wouldn't be a movie then. It's just you're watching someone having a really great day.
Yeah. Can you think of any movie where there is no conflict that was actually good?
I don't think most of those made it past a certain point in production.
Yeah, I mean, think about the classic. Okay, I don't know, for some reason, like I don't know. I'm trying to think of what.
You're trying to think of a classic movie.
The classic movie. Okay, the Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a movie of basically it was based on William Randolph Hearst, right? Some kind of media mogul. I don't know. Was there a conflict there? Okay, It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah. Definitely a conflict.
Definitely
Mr.
There.
Potter, George Bailey, right? Rich, but that was rich and poor. That's kind of a. I'm not saying it was a communist movie, but
in film though, and a lot of times, sometimes it's the more nuanced, like internal conflict too. So it's not always just like the very,
Yeah, but there's got to be some tension.
It's got to be tension. Yeah.
Right. Definitely. Right. Interesting. Yeah. So, all right. Any other
Man
movies?
versus God is what Victor says on YouTube as another possible conflict.
Yeah. That's true. Man versus God, and so you kind of have this. It's almost like a built-in. Even within ourselves, there's a conflict because you have your senses rebelling against your reason, right? And I always use the example of going. I did this yesterday. Go to a Mexican restaurant. The chips and salsa are set in front of you, and your head says,
"Don't eat the whole bowl."
Yeah, right. The head says, "Tap the brakes," and your sense, your concupiscence says, "No, man, I'm going for it." But it's the story. I mean, we are conflict ourselves. But when that gets put into the philosophical and political and world, it gets really nasty. And I think that's what Marx tried to foment. All right, so we move on now to another interesting-looking fellow, Georg Wilhelm Frederick Hegel.
What a name!
And most people say he born in 1770 and died in 1831. So he and Marx only overlapped for about maybe 15 years or so, but. So he had the dialectic, the Hegelian dialectic, where you had the thesis, you had some force or some movement, and then there's going to be an opposite force, and then the two of those go into conflict, and then from that conflict you're going to have a synthesis. Okay, so a thesis, an antithesis, and then a synthesis, right? So out of conflict comes a synthesis, and then that synthesis is there's going to be a conflict that establishes from that, and then you're going to have another synthesis. But he felt that history was kind of moving towards some level of perfection, right? There's something that it's moving towards, and I think he called this absolute spirit. So he was kind of spiritual, but not really Christian, or wasn't really following the Judeo-Christian model.
Got it.
But it was based on historical events, okay? So history was leading us to something. So then you get a guy like Marx that comes along and says, okay, I like that. I like the conflict thing.
It's like, I'll take it and raise you.
I'll take it. And then he started what is called the Materialism Dialectic, right? Where forget the spiritual aspect. Forget, Hegel at least tried to spiritualize it. But Marx is saying, no, let's just keep it all down here. And we got the rich, we got the poor. There's going to be a conflict. There's got to be a battle, and of course it ended up in most cases with Marxism to be a bloody battle. And then the synthesis is the classless society. Okay, so Marx even lowered it even further and said, nothing spiritual, no absolute spirit, no freedom. It's just a classless society, a Marxist society. So anyway, that's where. But all this, again, was a rebellion against the Aristotelian kind of scholastic Thomistic model. All right, so that's kind of the premise there, and we're going to talk about a couple of things related to, let's see, Mario says he looks like a Bond villain. Is he talking about Hegel?
He's talking about Hegel. He does, kind of.
A Bond villain, okay. Yeah, he does...
it's very intense features.
Has a little shiftiness to him, doesn't he? Okay, so the next graphic, I apologize for taking Hegel off because I know he's quite a looker. So you got this kind of circular thing that Aquinas does, where if you look at about 10 o'clock there, right? And you've got God. So we're created by God. God, of course, is eternal and infinite and perfect and simple. And then he creates this world inside of time, and then the whole purpose of the world is to return back to God, right?
Right.
And so that's the scholastic kind of Thomistic model, is that God creates us, God is good, we are good, all of creation is good, and the only thing bad is sin, or maybe the spiritual forces that oppose us. So there is conflict even within Christianity, but it's all based on God as our end. And that's what Hegel basically took out of it, and Marx certainly took out of it as well. And then the next thing, we've talked before about teleology. You look at the natural world and you see that things are ordered. Things make sense, okay? And there's a certain, it's not so much discord or just people fighting against each other or conflict. There's order. I mean, wouldn't you say, by and large, the world is ordered?
Right.
The world is beautiful. You know, the sun rises every morning and it sets every evening. And birds build nests and beavers build dams. And
ants steal food.
Are you creating conflict here? I'm
Sorry.
about all this harmony.
I meant to say that they build. I was like, I couldn't think of the word for they build their mounds or whatever they call it. So I just went with steal food.
Steal food. Okay.
Well, they clean up food. There we go. They clean up our food.
Well, yeah, which is very ordered.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
I was driving today and I saw this big vulture. And you ever seen those like huge vultures on the side of the road? And typically when you see a vulture, you're going to see some kind of like carrion, or there was like a dead something, you know, a fox or a squirrel or something, right? But that's all ordered. That's all part of the divine order. All right. So what are y'all thinking about this? Any thoughts? Jonathan von Weber-Hansberg's being kind of quiet here. Jonathan, we need you to chip in and do your part, even from home today. All right? And if you want to call in, 877-757-9232. 9424. We always enjoy getting calls. Diane will answer. She'll put you on the air. And let us know what you think and whether, it's it is interesting because Marxism is very popular, especially among young people today.
Yes. I actually was just watching at our young adult group, we watched a video that Matt Fradd did an interview with a gentleman who was involved in Antifa, was a Marxist.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't see the video,
it's
but
really good.
I saw the thumbnail. It was good.
You should watch it, definitely.
So what are the highlights, or what did he say?
So how he got involved with Antifa really was that he moved to London by himself when he was 16 and had no parental supervision and really was just looking for something, and he wasn't raised Christian to kind of get involved, group community sort of thing, and he ended up fighting for animal rights, but to the extent where animal rights were above human rights, and he actually got arrested because some of the protests he was involved in got violent, spent some time in jail, and then he got out and he had to be very careful. He was not allowed to get involved with any protests, nothing, and so he kind of was on the straight and narrow, quote unquote, but he slowly he met a woman and he actually moved to Colombia. And in Colombia, there's even though Colombia is not a perfect country, certainly, but there's a more Christian culture in the sense that all the taxi drivers have rosaries on their, taxis. They will make the sign of the cross when they pass a church and stuff like that. And he got interested in Catholicism eventually after looking into things. But was an interesting observation he had about the lifestyle he was living before is that the big thing about it was that they always were making. It's always about what everything else, societal things and other things, is all because of them that anything wrong in his life. That was what it was. It was all because outside things. It was never him.
Right,
it could never be. And he said that's what it is in that in Marxist groups. And it's not about you. It's about everything that's been done to you.
Yeah, there's always some enemy or some conflict.
And it can never be about you.
Yeah. And it's even when, in 2020, in the summer of 2020, we had all the riots and people protesting, police brutality and all that. And that's when BLM became very prominent. And on their website at the time, I don't know about on their website, but one of the founders had said in an interview that we are Marxists. Okay, and so that became a big deal. Is why was the BLM movement based on Marxist ideology? And so if there are in fact a lot, and I wonder if people agree, if there is a strain of Marxism, especially among the younger generations right now, first of all, it's very dangerous because Marxism leads to revolution and bloodshed, and pretty much every country that's done it, it hasn't turned out well. So how do we discuss this with people? How do we present a different model to them besides just conflict? And again, if you can kind of introduce, and I don't know how well I introduced Hegelianism or Marxism, but if you say, okay, if this is based on conflict, why do you need conflict? Why do you feel like we have to pit these different groups together? And the left-leaning media is bad about this. I mean, they thrive on it. And that's why I think.
Well, if there's no conflict, there's no news.
Yeah, exactly.
They have no jobs.
Because you need some kind of a conflict. I mean, you've met people that are very, very dramatic, and their life is just going from one dramatic episode to the next because it makes them feel human to have a lot of conflict within their lives. Okay, it looks like some activity going on here. Do you want to read some of those?
Yeah, Colin says Marxists are like buzzards waiting to devour, same as modernists, so to speak. And Jonathan's asking to talk about that the youth are really attracted to Marxism, and how would you say that we should go about bringing them away from that?
Bringing them away. Okay, well, thank you.
And then Jonathan also says that most of the Marxists he's met seem to think you can tweak it a little bit to make it work.
Yeah. Tweak Marxism to make it work?
I don't think that's gonna. If you,
but you have to know Marx. I mean, you have to. How many people that
actually know who Marx was and what he stood for?
And then you have what's called socialism, which is kind of like a watered down, Marxism, and interestingly, I don't know. I wonder how many people realize this. Okay, you've heard of St. Thomas More, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, St. Thomas More, of course, was beheaded by. He was the Chancellor of England back in the 16th century. Good guy, Catholic saint. He wrote a book called Utopia. Okay, and utopia was basically about a Christian communist state, and now he lived. Okay, this would have been long before Marx and all that. He was in the 16th century, but basically he was trying to create some kind of kind of leveling the playing field. And I haven't read the book. But it's interesting because even back then, there's always been this kind of sense of justice or equality, and maybe we should all get the same amount of money. And I think in Utopia by Thomas More, everybody did get paid the same, and there wasn't a rich, there wasn't a poor, and so I was
distributism.
Distributism. So, anyways, looks like we got pretty busy comments. Anything else? Somebody said about me. Will I grow a beard?
Oh yeah. Kevin, Jonathan's friend Kevin, who's gone on the show.
Like a Marx beard?
Yeah. Well, because all the philosophers seem to have beards. A lot of the philosophers seem to have beards.
Yeah.
So if you want to come to full circle with your.
Do you know something else interesting about philosophers? Most of them are, or were, I should say. What do you think the next word's going to be? Most philosophers
were men.
Well, that's certainly true. Yeah.
I was trying to think of something that I
that's good. But most of them were single.
Oh,
and most philosophers, and there certainly were exceptions, remain single. And I think what I've heard is that a lot of them think that the married life, it's because they're brainiacs. Then they just want to sit around and think. And a guy like Immanuel Kant, who never left within 5 miles, I think, of his house his whole life, but they're very independent. They don't want to be taking kids to school there's so much in their brain they don't have any time for anybody else.
Right. And so I do sometimes wonder about that though, because obviously there are beautiful single life vocations, there's vocations in religious life that you are not married and stuff like that, but kind of living that normal quote unquote day-to-day life, I wonder if that could have benefited that in their philosophy, what I mean, getting that experience,
a little bit of life experience,
kind of like getting what the average person,
raising kids and having working with a wife and compromising,
and because your family is like a little government. You're a little country you're running, and so it would be interesting to see how that could have affected them and changed their philosophies a little bit.
And I'm trying to think. I think Aristotle was married. Of course, as you know, of course, Aquinas wasn't. A guy like Frederick Nietzsche didn't get married. Kant didn't get married. I don't think Hegel got married. Most of them didn't. Some did. It's just an interesting fact.
We got a few comments I gotta before I get behind on them. Colin says A Man for All Seasons is a great movie with St. Thomas More, which actually I think I've been wanting to watch for a while, and I keep forgetting.
I think it won an Academy Award.
Yeah, I think it did. It's supposed to be a really good movie. And then Jonathan is another vote in for you growing a beard. And then Baru, I think, is a new. I apologize, I'm not pronouncing your name right. Is a new commenter. Marxism perseveres due to greedy capitalism is a question.
Who's that? Barbara?
I don't think I'm saying the name right.
Barbara. Yeah, Barbara. I think you're right, because the more capitalism gets corrupted, and it's kind of our wounded nature that when we have money, we want to make more money. Yeah. I think why a guy, I mean, again, not judging, because I don't know Jeff Bezos's soul, but people who make a lot of money and they just seem, and not just Bezos, but most capitalists, like if you start a restaurant and you're successful,
you're like, start another one.
Yeah, let's do another one. Let's franchise it. Let's have 1,000 restaurants. And so I think Barbara, that person's comment is right, is that you and then you start having this big separation between rich and poor.
Yeah.
You
and then
wipe
the small
out
businesses close down, and then
And then all of a sudden somebody starts coming along and they're pitting people against people.
Yeah.
And then you have revolution, and then all of a sudden this whole dialectic and conflict is very appealing. I mean look what's happening in Canada right now. You had, and I actually support the truckers, but you have conflict up there because the government pushed so far that finally the people felt so much strain that there had to be some kind of a revolution in a sense, right? And that would be, I think, a little bit of the dialectic at play as well there as well. So the dialectic, I don't think, is always a bad thing.
And then also Kevin says, it seems like a right-wing authoritarian ideologies are also growing among the Zoomer generation, so Generation Z, as a counter movement against communism, atheism, progressivism, and leftism. A lot of isms going on there. A lot of isms. And also Jonathan would love to hear your opinion on distribution.
Oh, distributism.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, my only experience with distributism is that, and Jonathan's probably very aware of this, is that G.K. Chesterton wrote a book called In Defense of Sanity, I think it was, and that's what. Are you familiar with distributism? First of all, I think
vaguely.
I think it's great. Basically, it's an economic type of system where you have things at a very low level where people are trading amongst each other. Like you might be you might make hats, and I might be a mechanic, and Diane's a doctor, and so we trade amongst ourselves. But it's a very simple type of economics where you don't have the franchises and you don't have the Walmarts. It's more of kind of, I think, how maybe it used to be more like during feudal times, where you have more personal interaction with people on an economic level, and you've got people that specialize, like rather than going and punching a clock at Walmart and earning your $13 an hour in a job you don't really care about that much, you're just making money. You actually develop a trade. And you provide something for people, and then other people provide you, and you go and get your eggs from Farmer John, and your leather goods from this guy, and everybody's trading amongst each other. And Jonathan can tell us whether or not I explained that well enough.
Yeah,
but
so
that's distributism in my.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, and I'm kind of interested to read that book that he wrote. He was saying that he thinks that a lot of young Catholics think it's a better alternative to capitalism, but to him it seems like tweaked Marxism.
Oh, what you mean, distributism?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, and again, there's a, like a guy like Thomas More. He tried to blend, kind of a communism, I guess, wouldn't have existed back then, but kind of this sense of equality or justice or leveling the playing field, which is kind of what communism is about. But he tried to incorporate it into a Christian world. Interestingly, although from what I read, I think Thomas More had slavery in his utopia, which is really interesting. That it seems totally antithetical.
There are a lot of saints that had a lot of beautiful devotion to God, but they had some things that they did not have right.
Yeah.
It's an encouraging thing sometimes when we know that we mess up. But I think St. Catherine of Siena also had some writings about slavery in positive form of them and stuff like that. So
yeah, interesting. So all right, so to get to the question, somebody said, well, what do we do if somebody is a Marxist or somebody nowadays, even politicians? I mean, Bernie Sanders, I think, wasn't he an avowed Marxist? I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm not sure. I think he. There have definitely been politicians that have said, if not, maybe not Marxist, socialist. Let's say that. There is a difference. I think what he said was he was a socialist and not so much a Marxist. So what do we do? First of all, as this graphic shows, I think we gotta explain teleology. We have to explain that we look at the world and it's ordered, and we see that there's some kind of, there's some kind of intelligence behind this, and we have to ask ourselves what's going on in the world, who's calling the shots, why are the ducks flying south every winter, why are ants building mounds, why are birds building nests, why does it seem so ordered, that this isn't based on conflict, this is based on order and goodness. And then, I also have here the very first question of the Summa, which I've talked about a number of times, talked about why do we need sacred doctrine? Okay, so God provides doctrine about, things beyond our natural reason in order to lead us to our final end, which is supernatural. Okay, so we have a supernatural end. We're being directed there by God through divine providence. He also asks the question, and then this kind of plays into what your friend asked you about here on whether it can be demonstrated that God exists. And that particular question in the Summa Thomas says yes, and he says, because you look out at the world. And this, I don't know if this is one of the ones I sent to you or not, but this would have been a great one.
Okay.
Can it be demonstrated that God exists? Isn't that a beautiful picture?
It is gorgeous.
Do you see that?
Love it.
That looks like
so vibrant.
Yeah. So, and again, I think this is another thing that we have to show people who might be more materialistic, have a material, dialectic kind of mindset, everything based on conflict, and you got to pit man against woman and black against white and gay against straight and vaxxed against unvaxxed, and just say, look out at the world. The world is so beautiful. The world is so ordered, and the world tells us something about God. It tells us about our final end, right? So the next thing, the Thomas has the famous 5 proofs for the existence of God. The last one is called the governance of the world, and this is where he says, again, look out at the world. Isn't that a cool picture of those bees? And even non-intelligent creatures are acting for an end. They seem to be directed. They seem to be, there's something that we're all kind of moving towards. And again, if it's, Hegel, it's this, absolute spirit, whatever that means. If it's Marxism, it's just some kind of, heaven on earth, some Marxist state. But in Thomism, it's God. Okay, we're all moving towards God. God, perfect goodness, perfect, perfection, and that's our end. And that's what it's a very optimistic, beautiful type of mentality. And I think if people just see the world differently, and they see nature differently, and they see that things are ordered and moving towards an end, that would cure them of socialism and Marxism. And then, Thomas says, are the perfections of all things in God. So everything you experience in life that has any degree of perfection, like a cool dog or a baby or
ice cream sundae.
Ice cream sundae, it's all related to God. And it's all related to our final end, as this next one says. Goodness has the aspect of a final cause. Everything that we see as good is leading us towards a realization of our final end, which is God himself. Okay, so anyways, I know people are commenting, and thanks so much. I'll take a little break here. Do you want to read some of these comments? Or?
Yes, definitely. So we're kind of still a little bit back on talking about...
My beard?
Yes, your beard. We're back to the beard. No, we have Victor's volunteering to be the leather trader if we start a...
It's still distributism?
Yeah, well, and then Kevin commented, says, I want church and state to rule with a combination of religion and nationalism. It's important to take care of our people and for them to achieve their needs and also have a spiritual life.
And wow.
Colin says, beautiful picture. And Colin also says, amen, Dave, the Alpha and the Omega, our Lord Jesus Christ. And then...
yeah, first and last. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Bar, again, apologies, I'm not pronouncing your name right. It said, brilliant help, your comment on the liberation ideology versus Catholic social justice. Yeah.
Your comment on the liberation theology versus Catholic social justice, is that saying, please comment on that?
I think so.
If your liberation theology, which is based on Marxism, and that's something that really came out of, I think, Latin America, where... rather than having some kind of supernatural end, having a goal, of what Aquinas would say, of really becoming united to God, their end is a heaven on earth. It's where you have economic justice, and that's kind of what you're moving towards.
Got it.
And it's been condemned many times by the church, whereas Catholic social justice this Catholic social justice would say, yes, we need to have justice here on earth, but it doesn't end here.
Right.
So Catholic social justice here on earth is only a representation of ultimate justice, which is going to be carried out by God at the end of time, right? So if you don't connect justice from a temporal standpoint with eternal justice, then you're wasting your time.
And it's very hard, I think, these days, since we're such a post-Christian society, to talk about that, because it's hard for people to, if you don't believe in anything beyond this life, it's really hard to reconcile that. And you're like, of course, yeah, we will fight for the justice that, the horrors of abortion, anything, those sort of things and stuff like that. But this is not the only life that we hope to live. So
and I think I think we mentioned this before. I think the last 2 years, you've had a lot of people in the world, in this country, that are so obsessed with their temporal health and whether they're going to live or die, which should be a concern, of course. We all want to live and be healthy and, not have illness and all that. But if that's the end all be all of it, is just trying to keep yourself alive, well, that's not good. But if there's
going to die.
If there's an eternal perspective to it, it makes everything else make sense, like the pandemic and all that we've gone through the last couple of years, which it has been a crazy, crazy ride. All right, so that just about does it. We are going to be moving and I read this paragraph already about Providence. Ultimately, just to kind of my summary statement is that again, you had scholasticism based on Aristotle, and you had this high scholasticism in the Middle Ages, especially kind of culminating in the 13th century when Aquinas was alive, and the great Bonaventure and Francis and Albert and all these amazing philosophers. And then it all started getting picked apart. And one of the ways it got picked apart was Hegel coming along and keeping the spiritual element, but saying that rather than God directing all things to a final end, we've got this big system of dialectic and conflict and thesis and antithesis, moving into synthesis. And then what does that cause? That causes a guy like Marx to come along and apply it to economics and just conflict and revolution, and it did not end well. And it's still not good because it's causing so much conflict today, as we see in our own culture. So, all right, so if you show people order, beauty, goodness, convince them that there is actually a God who's directing all things to a final end, teach them about providence, teach them about the proofs for the existence of God, especially the fifth one, where we do have an intelligent designer that is guiding all things, which we can see just by looking around us. I think you can probably cure them of Marxism. Okay, so did we get rid of Marxism? Is it done?
Only took an hour, Dave. We did it like less than an hour.
It's over.
We nailed it, man. Now we just need this video to go viral.
Yeah,
and then everyone can understand.
Everybody in the world,
exactly.
Can watch it.
Everyone.
Okay, I think we're all set.
Okay, can someone work on that, please?
Well, we got
10 people watching.
10 people watching.
That's a percentage of the world.
By our standards,
that's actually really good.
Kind of viral.
Thank you, everyone, we're basically viral at this point.
And most people that started watching, I think, are still there. So that's a good sign. We haven't run you off yet, so we need to try harder that way. All right. Well, hey, thanks everybody for watching. We okay, a lot of comments. Anything else that we need to?
I think everyone's having a discussion by themselves. If
nothing else, we started a conversation.
Jonathan says, "We did it, Dave. We destroyed Marxism."
All right. Yeah. And Jonathan didn't even have to come in.
Yeah. See, that's what we needed.
He did it from the comfort of his home.
On his couch, I bet. I guarantee. Or he's laying in his bed.
He's probably got like a bag of Cheetos.
Yes.
He's sitting in front of the computer. And I think Jonathan will be back next week, right?
I think so. I hope so. It would be very sad. It'll be a month since we've seen him, really. So, Jonathan, come back, please. And Buddy is still here, too.
Mommy and Daddy miss you, Jonathan. Come on. It's not worth it, buddy.
And David L. Gray says, glad we're back, too.
All right. Yeah, David always makes one appearance. He doesn't comment a lot, but he gets in. And I got to reciprocate here because David L. Gray, at the beginning of every single show, and I thought it was funny because for 3 weeks in a row, you got to talk about Hegel. And I'm like texting Cecil and telling her, hey, don't forget to mention this and mention that. But David L. Gray has a show that you produce every Wednesday, 4 o'clock Central. Do you want to talk about his show?
Yeah, absolutely. So David has a show 4 p.m. on Wednesday Central Time, and he also on the social media platforms, but on the radio as well. And he gives an opening monologue that's usually pretty entertaining. He loves donuts and bourbon, and
together?
Always, I don't know about together, but he likes both of them. And he likes to. He has all sorts of interesting guests on. He talks about all things from finances to the current state of the church. And sometimes in the beginning, we might plot out a movie in 5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, we have a little bit of fun at the beginning as well. So make sure to tune in.
The Orthodox and the Catholic guy.
Yeah, it was How Could This Go Right? Spelled R-I-T-E.
Yeah, right.
And Jonathan is on his couch, by the way. I would just like to
Eating
say
Cheetos?
that. Yeah, exactly.
Eating Cheetos. Okay. All right. So, Dave, you're very welcome, David. And thank you. And also, don't forget, I don't think Adrian is with us today, but don't forget about Catholic Drive Time. It's a great show. I wake up every single morning to it. 6:15, my alarm goes off. first thing I do after, wipe the sleep out of my eyes, and I turn on Catholic Drive Time. So be sure to watch that. I think listen to it. It's on all the Guadalupe Radio Network stations. It is a great program, and they go places where other shows don't go, kind of like David L. Gray as well. Sometimes he goes places that others dare not tread, and it's a great show.
They go to places other people dare not go. We wear hats and do trivia. We're basically the same.
And talk about esoteric, things like Hegelianism.
Yes.
So do you think you understand that tweet a little bit better now?
I do understand the tweet a little bit better.
Yeah. So I don't know why they're accusing Benedict. I don't quite understand the context. But anyways, I guess maybe it's just
Twitter's a thing.
Yeah, that's right.
That sometimes we all might be better without.
All right. Well, you want to introduce the next segment of the program? We're down to about 10 minutes before the top of the hour here. So what comes next?
I think it's that time in the show, Dave, where I give you Summa to think about because I'm by myself today, and you give it right back to me and Diane. Jonathan, you abandoned me.
Okay, Jonathan cannot play, but everybody can play along at home. You want to go first or second?
I guess I'll go first. I'm not going to lie. This is not my most fleshed out, but I had an idea, and hopefully it'll go all right. But I want to play Pope or no Pope, not Pope. I also didn't figure out the name very well.
Is this person a Pope or not a Pope?
Was this a Pope or not a Pope? Yeah, exactly.
Pope or not Pope?
The name could use some work.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm going to list off some names. I'm going to list off a few names. I'll just list them one at a time. You tell me Pope or not Pope.
Okay, so was this a Pope or not a Pope? Okay.
Okay, Valentine.
Valentine.
Yes, a Pope.
Oh, wow.
She's confident. All right. But is she? Wait, you can see over my shoulder, Diane.
Diane. Okay, is she right?
I'm not saying anything.
Okay, Saint Valentine.
Just I'm not. Okay. I'm not saying the name.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely.
Yes.
Okay. So score one for the D-Dog.
Score one. All right. Very nice. Okay.
Okay.
Romanus II.
Pope or not Pope?
No Pope.
You look in your face. You're looking very tricky. No Pope. No Pope.
No Pope. Romanus was a Pope.
There was a Romanus the first. But people are like,
yeah.
I think we'll stay with one. Yeah.
All right. Pontaine.
Pontaine. Can you spell that?
Pontaine.
Yes.
Yes.
Pope.
All right.
See, there's a pattern here. Yes, no, yes, no.
Nicholas VI.
Nicholas VI. No Pope.
No.
I just want to give up on this game.
Well, you got a pattern. You got yes, no, yes,
no.
no.
I wasn't trying to go with a pattern.
How many are there total?
I don't know.
Just kind of goes on forever. It's a game that never ends.
Listen, it was a busy day, and I was meant to bring my book of popes, and that would have been a little bit better.
Now, we're not trying to trivia shame you.
I don't know. I'm feeling some trivia shame.
You're doing great.
Honorius IV.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
All right.
By the way, are we perfect? We've got them all.
Yes, you have. Well, Diane didn't answer that.
No,
also, so I'm gonna
so I get it wrong.
Okay.
Let me see how everyone's doing in the comments. Hey,
whoa! That was for me. This is for Dave.
Bombed herself.
Diane just bombed herself.
That was brilliant. All right, let me actually come up with a good one. Hang on a second, guys.
So implying that those other ones have not been good.
Well, I thought they were okay.
Go with John Paul II.
Yes, John Paul I. No,
yes.
No. All right. Well, yes. Okay. Okay. Felix the IV.
No Pope.
No Pope. No. He
was
a Pope. Oh, we missed one, Diane.
Yes, finally.
Well, I'm no longer perfect.
Finally. Fabian.
Just Fabian?
Saint
Pope Fabian. You just said saint.
I said I'm adding a saint. I don't know if he's a saint or not.
Yes, he was a pope.
Yes, he was a pope.
Well, I got it wrong, so.
All right. Diane is just...
All right, do you want to just do one more?
Yeah, one more.
All right.
Pope or no Pope?
Pope or no Pope? Sorry. All right, ready? This is someone we know.
Okay.
Adrian the Eighth.
Adrian the Eighth.
Okay. No Pope.
I think you're being tricky. There probably were like 7 Adrians, but you added an 8th, and so I'm saying no Pope.
No Pope. There's 6 Adrians. I added 2
you bumped up 2. Okay. All right.
My poker face is not so great, but I tried. At least hopefully some people have learned some Pope names.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. I'm glad you didn't use their original names, because that would have been really tricky.
That would have actually, that's next week's.
Carol Volita or whatever.
Right, exactly.
All right, so today is the feast day of Our Lady of Lourdes.
Ooh.
So we have some Our Lady of Lourdes trivia. All right. See,
Okay.
I did.
I watched
Do you
the
have any
movie.
water from the Lord's?
Have you ever been? No, you've never been to
I've
Lourdes.
never been to Lourdes.
I actually
no.
had someone
Okay.
bring me back some water.
Yeah,
from Lourdes.
yeah,
I
I've
have
had
some at
water.
home.
Oh, do you?
wow.
Wow, look at you, Diane.
Well, my
Diane.
sister's a donor to the Society of the Little Flower organization,
Oh, so they send it.
Okay.
and they sent her some water from Lourdes.
So I'm gonna start off with a real easy one, just so y'all kind of get on a winning streak. Okay.
Oh, no. What if we get it wrong, Dave?
What country did the Our Lady Lourdes?
France.
Okay.
France.
All right. Very good. That wasn't even on my
Thank God
list.
we got it right.
Okay. Approximately, and let's see if anybody out there in social media land knows this. What year did Our Lady appear?
I can't. Dave,
Okay.
Me and years are
you
not
know,
good.
see,
Oh.
see,
15, 13,
No, it's in the. It's
okay.
in the.
I mean, what century? Okay. Anybody want to guess the century?
4th century.
Fourth?
No, it's not that early. It's.
Okay. Let's see if anybody out there
Is
can
it?
guess.
I
the
can't remember
century.
if it's the 20th or the 19th century.
Okay.
I somewhere in there. I know. But
It was 1858. So that'd be
Oh, I was
19th century.
19th century.
Yeah, 19th
Okay, yeah, it
century.
was
Okay.
This will
All
gets
right.
that win for being close.
Okay, so yeah, Jonathan said the 1800s,
Yeah.
so he did get that one right. Okay, to whom did she appear?
Oh, Bernadette.
All right, Bernadette.
Saint
Very
Bernadette.
good. Yes.
It's my mom's confirmation saint.
How old was Bernadette?
She was 14.
Let's see. Do you want to guess?
13, 12.
12.
But let's see if anybody.
15?
Let's see if anybody wants to guess
Let's
this
see if
one.
anyone else actually gets it right, so we just don't keep
she
guessing.
was.
Wait, let's see.
Let's see if anybody guesses.
Gotta wait for the
First
delay.
person to guess.
All right, what's the guess?
There is a delay on here.
There's a delay, so we have to.
Okay, so we still got
sing a little bit.
Okay, do you watch all the social media sites? Like,
I
are
don't
people,
really
or
watch
you
Twitter
watch
'cause
only.
I watch YouTube and Facebook.
Okay, so
15 is the guess from Colin.
The guess, she was 13.
13.
Okay.
I was
close
close.
to my first one,
I said
14.
All
12.
right, so Jonathan said 17, Colin said 15. Okay, she was 13. What was Bernadette doing when she first encountered Our Lady of
Ooh,
Lourdes?
what was she doing? I watched the whole
She was
movie.
getting water from the well.
Otherwise known as doing her chores.
Yeah, she's doing her
yes.
chores,
Okay,
yeah.
so good, Diane.
Very
Oh,
good.
thank you.
How many times did Our Lady appear to Bernadette?
3.
Okay. Do anybody want to?
I think it was more than 3 times, but I could be entirely wrong. I'm going to say 5 just for the sake of it. 'cause I don't remember.
18.
Oh,
Well, I was
wow.
closer.
Not that it's a contest.
Not that it's.
know?
You
Okay.
said
Oh,
you were
no,
pitting.
yeah,
I'm sorry. Aren't we doing Marxism?
This is I'm
Are we-
creating a
conflict.
conflict. Okay. All right. Victor said she was a teenager. David L. Gray said she was 13 in the Julian calendar, 14 in the Gregorian.
Oh, we're getting particular.
Are you different age according to different calendars? How does that work?
You're looking at me like I know.
Yeah,
Dave.
yeah. That's.
I just follow the Egyptian calendar.
Okay. So Our Lady visited Bernadette 18 times. Okay, interesting. Okay, I bet you nobody knows this unless they're like Bernadette, like trivia
Yes.
buffs. All right. When Bernadette first encountered Our Lady, Our Lady summoned her to come closer. What did Bernadette take out of her satchel or purse or what she had? What did she? What's the first thing she
A
pulled?
rosary.
Yes.
A
she-
rosary.
Rosary.
I did.
I bet she was like, "Oh, I'm so glad I have this."
Yeah.
If you, especially since Our Lady, later said pray the rosary every day. So if Our Lady appears to you, you better have a rosary.
That's
okay.
a good thing.
And I have my rosary in my pocket right here. Okay, so now this is where it gets really interesting. What happened to Bernadette's arm when she began to pray the rosary with the lady?
Started to bleed?
Okay, no, didn't start to bleed. Well, anybody know what happened to it?
Did it become frozen or no? Did it was stone almost
no,
like
paralyzed.
paralyzed. Okay,
yeah,
that's
so she lost all her
got
motion.
it.
Okay, and then when Our Lady did the sign of the cross, she was fine, right? During the 5th apparition, Our Lady taught Bernadette a prayer which she recited every day for the rest of her life. She never told anyone what that prayer was.
Hail Mary?
I was gonna say I missed that one.
Yeah, but she did always have a candle with her when she said the prayer, and that's why if you go to Lourdes today, there's candles everywhere. There's candles everywhere. Okay, all right. So on the 16th apparition, the lady, who never called herself Mary, by the way, did you know that? She never said I'm Mary. She revealed her name to Bernadette on March 25th, 1858, on the Feast of the Annunciation. What did she say was her name to Bernadette? Somebody out there knows this.
Yep. Somebody
let's
better know
see.
this because I'm
yeah.
trying to remember.
She said, because I think eventually Bernadette said, people
the Immaculate Conception is Colin's.
Yes, exactly. Colin,
thanks
very
for
good.
the
She said, I am the Immaculate Conception.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, now it gets really interesting. On the 17th apparition, April 7th, Bernadette did something very interesting, which was kind of miraculous. And I can't really give it any more explanation than that. But people around her were like, what's going on? They were worried for Bernadette because she did something that it seemed like.
Oh, man.
Okay, yeah. Jonathan said, I'm the Immaculate Conception as well. Okay. Let's see. You give up?
I don't remember.
Anybody know this?
I don't remember this. No.
She placed her hand over a burning flame, and witnesses say the flame burned through one of her fingers, but she wasn't injured. She did this for 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Okay, Bernadette became a nun, and she was, you're not going to know which order, Sister of Charity.
Okay.
How old was she when she died?
26.
Close.
I want to say she was on the young side. Yeah, I don't remember. 20. I'm going to say 30.
34. Okay, so Sissel got another point. Got closer, Diane. You can bomb yourself one more time. Okay, 30 years after she died, they exhumed her body. And what did they find interesting about her body? 30 years.
Incorrupt?
Yeah.
Incorruptible.
Yeah, she was like in the exact same state as when she died. And for some reason, they put her back, and then they came back 10 years later, and she still was incorrupt. Okay, canonized December 8th, 1933 by Pope Pius XI. And the last question is, something has taken place every night in Lourdes at 9 p.m. since 1872. What do they do every single night?
They bathe in the water?
Okay, a candlelight procession.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
That's
every
amazing.
night at 9 o'clock since 1872. This beautiful procession lasts approximately 1 hour and a half. The pilgrims finish at the Basilica of Our Lady of the Rosary there in Lourdes. Okay, now you know.
Now I know.
Okay.
I was trying. Everything I was remembering was we watched the Song of Bernadette. I was trying to remember from the movie everything that happened.
Are you like watching the movie?
No, I was just trying to remember in my head.
Colin, by the way, said he knew Incorrupt, and he also knew about the Candlelight Vigil.
Yeah.
So,
wow, that's awesome.
Colin gets our award. Don't we have some kind of like award, like the best commenter or something?
Oh yeah. Well, I would say we should give a new commenter award to
the one who you can't pronounce.
To Bar. She. Well, they enjoyed it, and they said that they really loved it. So
that's
they'll be back.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, good.
I will not miss. So.
Remember the time we did the show and there was like nobody watching?
Well, yes. No,
Yeah.
we don't think about those times, Dave.
It was just
a show and no one was there.
A little conversation between ourselves.
Which we didn't really need the microphones for, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's right. We could have just talked amongst ourselves. But the podcast was available.
Exactly.
Okay, so
exactly.
All right. Well, that's going to bring us to an end to the show. Thank you, Sissel.
Of course. Don't forget to subscribe to our email list.
Oh, yeah, that's
I'll
right.
post it.
Is everybody who's watching on the email list?
I don't think so.
You can find out what we're going to talk about next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I don't even know what it's going to be. But it'll be a fun topic. Okay, we'll talk about something fun and exciting.
The benefits of the car raffle.
There you go. From St. Thomas Aquinas.
Based on the Summa.
Based on the Summa.
I don't think he didn't write about the car raffle.
I think you can find a way to swing it, Dave.
All right, so we're going to roll the closer there, Diane. And thanks, everybody, for watching. God bless you. We'll see you, God willing. We're kind of fickle. Sometimes we're here, sometimes we're not. But we're planning on having the show next Friday, okay? We'll see you then. Good night.
Thanks for joining us for Back to the Father. And don't forget, the glory of God is the human person fully alive. If you have comments about the show, email Dave Palmer at grnonline.com.